Today I will be demonstrating how to introduce short division. In division, there are three elements. The first is the dividend, the number we are going to be dividing. This is 618. You then have the divisor, the number we are dividing by, which is 6. And finally we have the quotient, which is what we're going to be finding out. To give the learning an engaging context, we are going to pretend that we are cracking codes for a top secret safe. To be able to do this, we'll need to use our known facts to help make predictions so that we can check our answer. We also need a good understanding of decomposition as well as group and exchange. It's also extremely important to be confident with place value. So I'm going to start my calculation by partitioning my dividend, which in this case is 618. I'm going to partition this into hundreds, tens and units. I've used place value arrow cards to illustrate this as they are inactive and therefore build on relational learning. I'm going to then use Dienes as an inactive model to help illustrate the inverse of multiplication. 600 can be represented by 6 100 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 is represented by 1 block of 10, and 8 is represented by 8 ones. I'm going to set these out like numericon. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For the purpose of highlighting group and exchange, I have my 10 block in pink, which would help indicate where the exchange occurs in this calculation. Language is key in any mathematical problem, so I'm going to ask how many groups of 6 are there in each column. I can only make one group of 6 from my 600, so I'm going to stack them together. Because I have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to stack them together. And I'm going to draw a circle around them to help consolidate that there is one group. This should challenge the misconception that you'd write 6 because you have 6 blocks rather than 1 for one group of 6. I'm going to write a 1 here. I would be checking to make sure that children know this represents 100 and not just 1. Next is the tens. I can't make a group of 6 from my 10 block and I can't split the number, so I'm going to carry it into the next column. When I do this, I exchange my 10 block for 10 ones into the next column. So I'm going to also lay these out like numericon. Then I can write 0 in the tens column, and I'm going to put a line through where the Dienes would be, which will help further on. This leaves me with 18 ones, which I can then see how many groups of 6 I can make. Each time I make a group of 6, I draw a circle around it. So that's a group of 6, and draw a circle around that. That's a group of 6, and that's a group of 6. I'm drawing my circles, which means I can check my answer, making it a checkable calculation. So I've got 1, 2, 3 groups. So I write 3 at the top. So 618 divided by 6 is 103. Children should be taught to use methods that are reliable, appropriate, efficient and checkable, with the progression being child-led. Therefore, the idea of remainders would only be introduced after the child has concrete understanding of short division and the key principles that underpin it. In this example, I'm going to start again by partitioning the number into hundreds, tens and units, consolidating the understanding of place value. So that's what I've done here. I'm then going to think about dividing by groups of 5. So I'm going to write 5 here. Some children may want to make a number fact box for their 5 times tables if they're not confident with their mental multiplication. This will allow fluency for the calculation as they can refer back to their fact box. When children have concrete understanding of short division with the use of Dienes to cement relational understanding, I would encourage them to use place value counters. These are particularly good as they highlight group and exchange, and when children no longer need the inactive representation, children can draw their place value counters for iconic representation. Building on prior knowledge, I start with the 100 column. So I've used place value counters, so I've got 100, 2 10s and 7 1s. I cannot make 5 groups out of my 100, therefore I must carry this into the tens column. Children should be confident with this concept after the initial teaching of short division. So the 100 counter will be exchanged for 10 tens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can then write 0 in the 100th column above the bus stop. I now have 12 tens altogether rather than 2 tens. I can make 2 groups of 5 from 12, and I'm going to draw a circle around them like I did before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, I've got 2 that I can't make a group of, so therefore I'm going to exchange them for 21s. So 20, this looks like a lot of counters, but it's 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I now have 27 units or ones. I know from my fact box that 5 times 5 is 25, so I know that I can make 5 groups quite easily. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can then see that I've got 2 that can't be grouped into 5, which are going to make my remainder. I'm going to represent this. Oh, I didn't write my 2. 5. And then I'm going to do an R for my remainder. And 2. Having drawn the circles around, I can check that my answer is right. So I've got 2 groups, 2, and 5 groups for 5. So my answer is 25, remainder 2. Here is my final video to show how place value counters can become iconic through drawing them. As you can see, I've separated my number into hundreds, tens and units already. I'm now going to draw my place value counters. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 and 700. I need 2 tens, 1, 2, and I need 8 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm now going to see how many groups of 3 I can make out of my 700. I'm going to draw around them again. So 1 group of 3 and 2 groups of 3. So I can write 2 here. As you can see, I can't make this last 100 into a group of 3, so I'm going to have to group and exchange it. So like the other calculations, I've drawn a line through it, and I'm going to exchange it for 10 tens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now because I haven't used my full 700, I'm going to draw a line through it here and put a 6 because I've used 600s worth. Because I've exchanged this 100 into my tens column, I'm going to put a 1 here to represent this. I'm now going to see how many groups of 3 I can make from my 12 tens. So 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3 and 4 groups of 3. So I can write 4 in the tens column. I'm now going to see how many groups of 3 I can make from 8. So 1 group of 3 and 2 groups of 3. So I can write my 2 here. And as you can see again, I've got a remainder left here where I can't make a full group of 3. These will become my remainder, which I'm representing by an R and 2 for 2. I can check my results if I need to. So 1, 2, lovely, got 2 there. I've clearly got 4 groups for my 4, and I've got 2 groups here and 2 remainders. So 728 divided by 3 is 242, remainder 2.